Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and making her Comic Book University debut, Mrs. Professor Bill. This is my wife, Warda.
Hello, people.
Yep, total dork. That's why I married her. Okay, so this is the full spoiler review for Black Panther movie. This is the 15th of February. Yeah, you can see all that stuff in the description. So look, check this out. We are going to spoil the heck out of this thing. You want to know how much I'm going to spoil this? I'm going to tell you right now how much I'm going to spoil this. You know, in the very beginning, when if you go to Cineplex and you're sitting there with your phone and you're like, playing the little game and you're going to win. I'm going to win, man. The two questions that they will give you at the very end, there'll be Chadwick Boseman there. He's going to say, "What kept my Black Panther suit cool while filming? It was water." The second answer, he says, how many spare suits did I go through while I was there? The answer is 3. Okay, see, that's how much I'm spoiling this thing. So forget about it, all right? We're going full spoilers. Okay, let's do this. The movie sucked, right?
No, I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah, I think that the movie was fantastic.
I'm actually a little sad that it finished.
I know,
And
right?
I want to see it again.
Oh, the same one, or just let the movie keep going?
God, I want it to keep going. I want it to be a show, but I don't want it to be a show because I want it as grand as it was. So I'm a little bit conflicted, but yeah, I'm gonna go see it again. We're gonna go see it again.
I was gonna say, did you see that? So anyway, yeah, this was a fantastic movie, like from beginning to end. We actually said to each other, I said to her during the film, yeah, we're definitely have to grab this one on Blu-ray,
Yeah.
Ultra, AVX, whatever the heck it is, all right? And the seats that we had, we paid more than the regular IMAX. We had what's called the D box. So we were in the big seats. Like we were a lot farther than this away from each other.
Yeah,
You know
we
what I'm
had
saying?
good space.
We had a lot of space that we were like, we could put one of our kids like right in between. You know what I'm saying? Just like get one of those little tiny baby seats. We got the little baby lawn chairs, and boom. And then the seats actually moved. So while the ship was flying around, we were in the ship because like I was getting a little motion sickness.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like,
Yeah.
and I still feel a little bit nauseous right now.
Really?
Yeah.
That's actually bad because our oldest son actually just got car sick today while bringing him to her mom's house so they could babysit because we were watching this movie, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, Gerald just saw it. Really great. See, it's better than really great though. I'm joking. Yeah, I agree. I agree from beginning to end. Like just to get this out of the way, the stuff that I said in my non-spoiler review. The worst part about the movie was the little bit of CGI with the rhino.
That's the funny thing, though. I actually really like that.
Hmm.
And those guys behind us, I swear to God, I was like, I am not going to rip them to pieces.
What they said was here during the end. What I'm saying about the rhino is the rhino looked like a regular rhino, but the part where the rhino was actually eating out of was it Wakabi's hands or who was there in the? Oh no, it was Aoki, wasn't it? His love, was she actually there?
No, I think it was.
It was T'Challa.
Himself.
It was
yeah.
T'Challa. It was T'Challa. He went there and he's like feeding the rhino, and like you can see the lips and all that stuff. It's like, okay, that is so CGI. But like aside from that, at the end, the guys behind us were saying, yeah, the worst part about the movie was it's just completely unbelievable that
A
rhino would have that what?
That it would be domesticated like that?
No, I was saying that. I was like,
okay.
oh yeah, because rhinos being domesticated. Yeah, that's the easiest thing in the world to do. Like they're violent animals. They're almost as bad as hippos. They're like in the same pachydermis type.
But it's Wakanda.
Absolutely,
Anything is possible.
Everything is possible. Absolutely, no. But they were actually just making a joke about it. It's purely sarcastic humor. They were like, like super ultra technologically advanced country, and they've got rhinos as war mounts with vibranium armor on, and like they were just cracking a joke, like come on. But they nobody had anything bad to say about it. The best I could hear, except that one jerk that you heard all the way on the right. That you see, you get mad.
So yeah, like every time they were speaking, what language were they actually speaking in?
I don't actually speak it, so
I need to Google what, because like I remember in one of the groups talking about they're going to stick with English but have an African accent because they don't want to select a kind of a specific African.
What I will say in the comic,
Yes, Hausa, which is like
Oh, they
Nigeria.
were speaking Hausa. That's actually perfect. Just wow, okay, you are freaking awesome. Because check this
Yeah.
out. And look, he actually spelled it right too.
Yeah.
You actually spelled it with the X, meaning the heavy H, which is awesome. Love the channel, man. Keep up the great content. Thank you, Means of Production. And native language in South America. Oh, shoot. That is actually awesome. Because one, Ramonda, Queen Ramonda, is actually from South Africa.
Okay.
She's actually South African. Niami. Because, you know, Ramonda is not actually Black Panther. He's not actually T'Challa's mother.
Oh, I didn't know that shit.
T'Chaka had 3 wives. The first one was Niami. She was Wakandan, and that was his mother. Then she died in childbirth. Well, she had like a few moments with him after he was born, and then she died. Like it's actually a choke up moment. And then he had another mysterious wife where there was they had a son. Jakas, I can't remember his name, but Jasaka, something like that. And he just became a general. He was whatever. It was literally like glossed over. But then he married a third woman from South America, and that's
South
Ramonda. South. What did I say? South America.
Yeah.
I always do that. South Africa, and that's Ramonda, and that's Shuri's mother. But
Okay.
she's still treated, T'Challa like so. Showing my son and things like that. 100%. That's how she acts in the comic books. Even though it's pretty much always been known that's not his birth mother, not his biological mother. He's still always referred to her as his true mother. But
That's awesome.
what I was going to actually say is before just wow, okay, stole my thunder is which is totally fine, dude. The Wakanda actually has a native language of Wakandan, but the Dora Milaje in the comics and it's pronounced Dora Milaje. They actually sound it out in the comic books, in the Christopher Priest comic book specifically. What do you call it? The Dora Milaje only speak to T'Challa. They don't speak to anyone else, and they only speak to him in Hausa. So they don't even speak in the native Wakanda. They'll talk to each other, and whatever, like that. But they only speak to him and he speaks to them in, what do you call it? Yeah, and in Hausa. And in case you didn't know, Dora Milaje actually means beloved. So in English, when they're doing that back and forth, and he'll walk in, and they turn and they see him, they'll be like, "Beloved," like that. So it's like with Somali, like your native Somali, they what do you call it? Like Hoyo. Like that sort of a thing, like a mother could say to children, and children could say it to, this for them, obviously. You obviously know.
Hoya means mother, but technically actually means kind of like a home or a shelter, like your source, your origin, and that's what you call your mother, Hoya.
Because that's the funniest thing. Like right on our wedding night, when I said to your mom, Hoyo, because I'd been calling her that for a while, and then she responded back, ha Hoyo, like what's up Hoyo, to me, and I was like, I'm not Hoyo, you're Hoyo, and then you were like, actually, babe, that's an honor. I was like, get out of town. So
loving.
yeah. So similar kind of thing. So what else about the movie? What exactly did you like about the movie? Was there anything you didn't like? First off, I said the rhinos.
The one part I didn't like is
Hey, bagel. There we go. All 3 of us in the house. I told you, don't worry about that. I'll worry about that. The movie was a 10 out of 10. Yes, Desmond Johnson. I don't see you around very often. What's up, man? And Means of Production. What's up, brother? Opinion on the depiction of his stealth combat. I think that the stealth combat was awesome. The joke in the beginning. Oh yes, these shoes. We when Shuri was talking about it, she's like, oh, these shoes. Yes, they're really good for sneaking. We call them sneakers. And it was like supposed to be the dumb pun. I thought that was hysterical.
It was too short. Yeah. Like, I really want more. I do.
Look at you. You're a natural at this. Shoot. I'm going to ignore this. You pay attention to all that. Plus, I got to get close to see you. You're the one with the good eyes. So, what do you call it? What didn't you like about the movie?
Let's talk about what I liked, because what I liked is in reference, in relations to the one thing I didn't like. So I'm a black woman, and I have hair.
And, oh, I know what you're talking about. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so growing up, hair was always a thing. Not seeing myself in media, whether it was books, movies, you call it music, and being told implicitly and explicitly to not be the natural way that I am. So in this movie, I loved loved that everyone's hair was natural, and like, there's just no shame, no qualms about that.
So what you're saying is instead of having and no disrespect to Beyonce, but not having the typical Beyonce hair, not using the relaxer, not
Yeah.
having straight hair, not making it look like. Did you ever see the Malcolm X movie?
I am sure I have, but I can't remember.
Because it was
right
actually
now.
in the book also, and I know you read the book.
Yes, I remember it from the book. Yeah.
When Malcolm X, he was just called Red. When he was talking about it, it's like, no, I'm going to make my hair look nice and straight with the relaxer and all that stuff, and it like burned his hair. He kept it in for too long.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So the one aspect that I didn't like is like when they're at that is it like a club or like a casino or something
They
like
were
that?
in the underground casino in
Yeah.
Korea. They didn't say if it was north or south. I don't think.
So the general, she's wearing a wig.
But I'm sure it was south. Anyway, go
Yeah,
on.
the general, she's wearing a wig.
That's
and
Ayoke.
she calls it ridiculous, and that bugs me. So even though I love their hair, I don't want them. I know, like, it was a joke or in jest or whatever, but like, don't make fun of other people of color who choose to look that way.
But again, I pointed out in the ride home that actress who plays her is Michonne
Yeah.
in The Walking Dead, and she wears the really big wig with the dreads in it. So maybe it was just a reference to that.
I know. So
Yes,
for me, that's the only thing I kind of reacted to, was just like, yeah.
I got you. Oh, jeez.
Yeah. I was cracking up.
I know, man. It's been checking out your vids. Been missing them live. No worries. Should have been 3 hours. 3 hours was nice. The Stan Lee cameo was hysterical, guys. It was in the South Korean casino. Thank you. The underground casino. T'Challa goes and places a bet. That's when he first meets up again with Everett K. Ross. Everett K. Ross explained in a minute in the comic books version in the description below with a bunch of other characters. You want to see their comic book origins and how they lived, and some of them died in the comic books. Check that description below. I have a whole bunch of them. And what do you call it? They had what did they do? They had T'Challa won a bet but walked away. And Everett K. Ross is like, oh, hey, you won. And so that's when Stan Lee comes around the corner. He's like, you know what? I'm just going to take these and bring them over here and keep them safe.
Yeah,
And that was Stan Lee's the man.
It's always endearing.
We both have that one's my picture with him, and you have your own separate picture out there with Stan Lee. We both got our picture taken with Stan Lee.
His last trip to Toronto.
Actually, it wasn't. It turns out he actually went to Alberta afterwards. Can you believe that? What?
Yeah.
Why does the Jabari tribe have fishermen if they are vegetarians? Just as, they're vegetarians, they're not vegans. But I thought that was actually a really funny line with M'Baku. M'Baku is in charge of, and I have Manape explained in a minute below. Manape, as I've explained before, is my favorite Black Panther villain. So I loved that he wasn't actually a bad guy in this, not really. There was a scene, and a lot of comic book fans know this. There was a scene in, you don't know this, when T'Challa and Storm got married. I told you before they got married in the comics. It was probably the most important wedding that has ever existed in the Marvel Comics before what? M'Baku was hysterical, dude. I was dying at his jokes. But the Watcher showed up. The Watcher explained in a minute. It may be in the description, but it's somewhere on Comic Book University. I've got a playlist of explained in a minute. But the Watcher showed up, and it was a big deal. The Watcher also showed up for Susan Storm. Her and Reed Richards, the guy with the stretchy arms, the two leaders of the Fantastic Four.
Is the Watcher one of the Wakandan people?
No. The Watcher is this cosmic entity that he's not supposed to interfere with things, but he will oversee the. This is actually fun. This is the first time I actually have somebody on here with me. Anyway, he's this cosmic entity that he's one of the first entities. His race is one of the first entities, and they would oversee visually record everything that happens in this universe.
Okay.
So don't interfere, just record. Anyway, he was there for that, and he'd mentioned before, the kid that you guys have is going to be important. Now, they broke up before they actually had that kid, but anyway, during their wedding, this was right in the heat of the first Marvel superhero Civil War. So Iron Man and Captain America were there, and they almost came to blows. And yeah, anyway, Captain America was respectful. Iron Man wasn't. Gee, imagine that. So, but on the way out, what do you call it? Spider-Man was sitting down, and M'Baku was next to him in his full man-ape garb. I showed you the picture of him before, M'Baku. And he's like, oh, wow. And Spider-Man's like this skinny little guy, but he's a lot stronger than M'Baku is. M'Baku can lift like 5 tons. Spider-Man can maybe lift 20 by now. He's ridiculously strong, minimum of 10, like with no strain. Anyway, and M'Baku's just like, yeah, hey. And he's like, aren't you like a bad guy here? He's like, well, yeah, kind of. I came because I was upset that I wasn't invited to the wedding, of King T'Challa. Like, I'm the leader of the Jabari tribe, and I wasn't invited, so I came here to ruin the entire wedding. And when I got here, they said my name was on the list. And it was like the cutest thing in the world.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So yes, they gave us that M'Baku, and I loved it. I loved that.
I did.
How was M'Baku able to lift the guy by the neck if he's not enhanced? Just he's ridiculously strong. Plus, they also did the heart-shaped herb very differently in this. They administered the heart-shaped herb very similarly. I've never once seen them remove the heart-shaped herb power from people. For like, remember when they said, okay, he's going to take this, you don't have the heart-shaped herb anymore. Okay, you're finished? Okay, here you have the heart-shaped herb again. It's like, they didn't do that in the comic books. I never once saw them do that. You know what I'm saying?
So now that it's all burnt, what happens?
Good question, because that never happened in the comic books. It's never farmed there. It can't grow. It's my understanding that it can't grow in captivity. It exists because the underground, where the vibranium is, the radiation that seeps from it. It's not like a dangerous radiation, but that particular herb, that particular plant, was affected by the radiation of vibranium, and thus that. But it only grows in very specific parts, and it's actually guarded by a bunch of Black Panthers. So your test, in order to receive the herb in the first place, is to sneak in there and not kill any of the Panthers, but get the herb and get out, alive. And then you have to survive it anyways. Plus, only the royal family has actually been used to keeping the herb in their bloodstreams. Anybody else, like Njidaka, Killmonger, in the comic books, he took it and he almost died from it. You know what I'm saying? Because his family hasn't been consuming it regularly. So later on, but he wound up developing a bit of an immunity to it, and then he actually produced, because he's a smart guy. He's got his bachelor's in engineering and his MBA. You know what I'm saying? So he's ridiculously smart with anything engineering and business, finance, economics, very specifically economics. He actually used to teach at Harvard, I think it was, or was it Oxford? I think no, it had to have been Harvard, because he wasn't in he was in America. He wasn't in Europe. So
does he still have the military background in the comics?
No, he does not. He's just a ridiculously big, strong dude. You know what I'm saying? So they radically changed him here. That he was more of a, not smart, yes, but not as educated. You know what I'm saying? He's more of a, a killmonger in this. So they really changed that.
I think he had some sort of a master's.
Did he? I don't remember them saying that.
I think so, yeah.
If so, cool.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like I said, they didn't take away from his intelligence, but I thought they took away from his education. Either way, he's got the GI Bill, so he can do whatever the frick he wants with it. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I dug the idea that he has the marks on him for every, kill that he did. That was impressive. He was smart, man. He played everybody. Anyway, M'Baku is just ridiculously strong. He's just excuse me. Actually, no. In the comic books, he's strong because he ate the flesh of the white gorillas. I'm very upset that we didn't get to see the white gorillas, because they went into Njidaka village, which is in the misty. I always forget what it's called, the Misty Mountains or whatever. But Wakanda, for a small nation, has like every climate in it. So out there's these big Yeti-looking. They actually have Yetis. For one thing, they actually have Yetis in Wakanda, but on top of that, they actually have these gigantic white gorillas. They're huge, and to be the chieftain of the white gorilla tribe, you actually have to go one-on-one. You can take a Jabari staff with you. Jabari wood is ridiculously strong. It's solid, like it's not breaking. You know what I'm saying? I actually don't think I've ever seen it break in the comics. I could be wrong, but you can take one of those, and you have to go and you have to fight and kill one of these white gorillas and eat its flesh. And then you get the strength of the white gorilla. So
Wow.
he's ridiculously strong. How he's able to do it in the movie, cinematics. Ask Ryan Coogler, the director. Go on. What else did you like about the movie?
I have notes.
She has notes.
I like the way the city is laid out. I love the architecture. I thought that was really cool. Like it was one of the issues with Africa and post-colonial Africa is this whether it's politics or architecture or whatever, it's always trying to develop in light with Europe and America and whatnot, because it doesn't have it's missing a big chunk of its history where.
But every place in the world, for the most part, is like that. China, even China,
Yeah,
even
absolutely.
China, they don't do that. When we were in Saudi Arabia, you weren't in Riyadh recently
No.
with me, but in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, like they've got skyscrapers.
Oh, I know.
And
Yeah.
they're more. I'm not even just talking about like the regular.
The tallest buildings in the world are in the Middle East.
Yeah, they are. They are. What's
Hi,
up?
P.A.
Hi, Miss
Stewart.
Professor. What's up, P.A. Stewart? But yeah, the tallest buildings in the world are there in the Middle East. Like the tallest right now is the Burj Khalifa in the UAE. That's Dubai specifically, right?
Yeah, Burj Khalifa is in Dubai.
Yeah, there are 13 Emirates in the United Arab Emirates, and I think it's the Emirate Dubai is where they're at. But regardless, Trump has a tower in
Saudi? Doesn't he have one
in Saudi. Where at in Jeddah, right?
I don't remember.
I think it's in Jeddah. I'm positive it's in Jeddah. And
Yeah.
that's the real commercial area. But anyway, like they actually have plenty of skyscrapers now in Riyadh.
Yeah.
Like it's insane.
Yeah.
So
No, in the movie, because so every time
Singapore,
you see
Singapore has massive skyscrapers. That's where the second tallest building in the world is before the Burj Khalifa came along.
Yeah.
Indonesia or Singapore, one of those two. Anyway, yeah, I think it's Singapore. It's got to be Singapore. But whatever.
I don't remember. But yeah, no, like every time you see Africa portrayed, it's kind of like in this, whether it's explicit or not, it's like it's pointing to poverty or it's derogatory. It's kind of looking down. And obviously this was not like that. People were living in their huts and they were tending to their animals, and it was beautiful. People living normally. Like I know with my family, the way they lived, they didn't think of themselves as poor. That they were not poor. They had food. They had their animals. Like I'm second generation on one side, third generation on one side, who isn't a nomad. So for us, like being nomadic and living off of the land it was normal. It was not a poverty thing, right? So it's like when you have National Geographic documentaries examining these people, they're examined in a way where it's like they're being looked down on. So in the movie, it was really refreshing to see. No, it's okay. Like, Mubaku, that's how you pronounce his name. Like, he's living that life, and he's a chieftain, and there's nothing wrong with that. He's not begging nobody for anything.
Yeah, they were very conservative.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh.
Like pretty much all of Wakanda was extremely conservative.
Yeah.
Like Wakabi was saying at one point, once you let in the refugees, they're going to bring with them their problems.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was Donald Trump.
Yeah, they're isolationists. Yeah, they want to isolate themselves from the world. They're isolationists.
Yeah,
So
it's like we've got the best stuff in the world. Why do we want to share it with these people? But let's go out and conquer them. You know what I'm saying? Like that was what Wakanda was, which is very different from the comics. He was the right-hand man of T'Challa. And when we first got introduced to him, he was cool. That was in the pages of the Avengers. But then Jungle Action Volume 2, issue number 6, we got the first appearance, or the first new appearance of Wakabi. And he was insane, like how upset he was at T'Challa. Like he was an absentee king. Like he was fairly new at being a king. Actually, no, I shouldn't say that. He became a king technically when he was 10 years old, but because his father M'Baku was killed by Claw when he was 10 years old, and then he took his hand from him with his own weapon. But his father, Siam, I think his name was. His uncle Siam was T'Chaka's brother. T'Chaka, who he killed that
Yeah.
guy. He was actually the Regent King for the longest time, and he then when T'Challa beat him in the ceremony, he became his advisor. And like there were so like they changed so much from the comic books. That was in Ryan Hudlin's. Ryan Hudlin, I think it's Ryan Hudlin. Anyway, when you watched he's the guy who became the boss of BET for a while. We talked about that. When you saw that Black Panther miniseries, remember?
Hmm.
Yeah, the Marvel Knights series. Ryan Hudlin is the one who actually wrote those comics. He produced this, and then he became the head of BET for a while.
Okay. Yeah. No.
We talked about that was like 7 years ago, though, 8 years ago.
Yeah. No.
Anyway, so that was in Ryan Hudlin's run where they did that, and where Shuri actually got the opportunity to eventually, like I'm going to try and become a black. That's actually where they introduced Shuri in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's going on over here? Reginald Hudlin. Thank you, PA Stewart. Reginald Hudlin. What did I say? Ryan Hudlin? Yeah. So I'm thinking Ryan Coogler. So I'm combining everybody. Anyway, so I thought that this was one of the best Marvel movies, period. Gee, should we address the elephant in the room? There was well, I'm white and you're black. I'm American. You're originally Somali. We're both striving. Actually, you already are Canadian now. I'm striving for it. I'm going through the same crap that you already went through when you were in ninth grade.
My parents did actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, right. Your dad did all this stuff from over there. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's a rigmarole, peeps. It's a rigmarole. Anyway, so what are we? Where was I going with this? We were all the stuff that we were talking about in the car and walking back from the stuff. The representation, like what is it? You asked me what is the reason why I said that. I'm inviting you onto here to talk about this is because you said what does the movie mean to you, and I felt like you wanted to hear something from me that, like honestly, as a white guy. I'm just looking at it as a really cool comic movie.
I know it's not. It's not like that for me at all. Like, yeah, like representation matters. I keep posting things like that on Facebook past like few weeks, and representation matters. Just wow. No, just wow. Look.
Just wow. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Did you cry? Did you cry?
I did not cry.
I thought you were at one point. Okay.
It's hard for me to cry in movies, but I do feel emotionally raw because it's what Africa could have been, but at the same time I feel a little bit weird that the original writers of Black Panther are two white guys who are creating a
two Jewish guys specifically. Jewish people are called white now. I'm Italian.
I know.
I'm called white now.
So let me just
say, my grandfather was not called white.
Two non-African people writing a story about a fictional Africa that is like this awesome land. So it kind of makes me feel like, what about the rest of Africa? Is it not awesome? But no, I'm still loving Black Panther. So I am conflicted. But to see like to go back to representation matters, growing up, I did not see myself represented in the magazines I read, in the books that I read, the movies I watched, whatnot, and the list goes on. So now our kids and other kids of color are going to see themselves in these roles. Mm-hmm. But not only that, like when I saw people of color on TV, they were either thugs or they were terrorists or, those kind of characters. So now it's like you have a king and you have Shuri who's like the super smart girl and
she's actually on par or in many ways smarter than Tony Stark.
Yeah. So and she
which I love to see because everybody knows I'm not a huge fan of Tony Stark. He's the biggest jerk in the comics. But anyway, like it's funny because I remember I'm sitting down. We were at your mom's house 2 weeks ago or whatever, and your 12-year-old brother. I was like, let's watch. Have you ever watched Boys in the Hood? And he's like, no. I was like, what? You didn't get a proper education. So I'm like, let's turn this on. So we're watching it, and of course everybody's like, the adults in the room. Your uncle was like, oh, this is too much. When Furious, Lawrence Fishburne called himself Larry Fishburne in that one. When Lawrence Fishburne is talking about, tell me about sex, and like her uncle's like, why are we doing this? Like your brother's 14 years old. Her brothers talked about sex. He asked me about sex 3 years ago. I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? Like, he knows about this stuff. So, like, come on. So, seeing like that kind of an education where they're saying, like, what this was, way back in the day when he was saying, like, oh, hey, this continent right here is called Africa. That's where all of us black people are from. That's actually where the first man was found. The origins of the first man was found. And this should have been, I guess, back in the early 80s, like maybe 1982, I guess. Maybe they actually said the year, I don't remember, but you know what I'm saying? Like, that's when I was growing up. I'm 42. You know what I'm saying? And I remember when I was a kid, I was actually in Ohio. There was one black kid. I remember I told you, William Turner was the only, I probably shouldn't have said his name, but he was the only black kid in the entire school in Ohio, in my grade school. We were in fifth grade, Mrs. Kendall's class. One black kid in the entire school. That's it. You know what I'm saying? We had a bunch of, Mexican kids in school, but for the most part, we're all white. And that's when we first learned about slavery. That's when we first learned about, we didn't learn about colonization, that's for damn sure, but we first learned about slavery. And that's the first time that we started actually asking about our ancestry, because she initiated that. She was an awesome teacher, but that's the first time that because she wanted to teach science, but the other guy couldn't teach history at all. So they decided she's just a woman. And the other guy, Mr. Pitts, they said, well, you're pretty good at science, even though she's better. But since you have no knowledge of history for the most part, we'll let you teach the science class, and she could teach the history. So she would sneak science lessons in all the time. Nice. You know what I'm saying? She was awesome. She was amazing. She would stick the science lessons in all the time. Anyway, she was the one who was actually talking about, the first man was actually found. She's the first person who taught us about evolution. You know what I'm saying? She's like, listen, I know everybody around here is really, really religious. They actually brought in Bibles. They had the Gideon's Press.
In the school.
In the school, yes. It was 100% illegal, but it's Ohio, and FU government, we're religious. So they actually brought in Gideon's Press. They're the people who leave the Bibles in all the hotels. They brought in these little miniature New Testaments for us, and they're like, here you go. You know what I'm saying? Like, you bring home with your parents, I don't think they'll mind, but, like the school, we're kind of sneaking in here because they don't want you to learn about religion. And that was in Mr. Pitts's class, go figure, not in Mrs. Kendall's class. You know what I'm saying? Not that she was against religion. She's an old woman. You know what I'm saying? She was totally cool with it, but that was their deal. She was more like there's other things too, but since we were learning about evolution in her class, Mr. Pitts called us in to get these Bibles and remind us where we really came from. Yeah. Okay. So, origin of mankind, Ethiopia. Kind of. Didn't they actually say Somalia also? Like the whole. I don't know. Anyway.
I don't know. Yeah.
Somalia's right next door to Ethiopia.
As far as I know, there have not been any bodies discovered or any remains discovered in Somalia.
Okay, but yeah, Ethiopia, it works. It absolutely works. And different waves and generations of people actually leaving, and coming back. That whole region. Yeah, set me straight, man. I love it. That's why I have this live. So I love it when I get set straight. But anyway, like that's the thing. Like Boys in the Hood to me was always again, it's just me talking. Are you going to go down, Bagel? Go ahead, say bye-bye. Bye-bye. And, that was always my big thing. And now I see, like, Black Panther, and I see the way you're reacting to it and all that stuff. And we've talked about it before. We're talking about it a little bit afterwards. We're going to talk about it a lot more. And it's like, I almost feel like Boys in the Hood just wasn't good enough because, the whole thing.
I never watched Boys in the Hood, but I loved...
Only that first 15, 20 minutes.
We watched, recently. But I watched, it's one of my favorite movies. Coming to America.
Yeah.
Coming to America, and I love that movie. Like, I was a newcomer, I was an immigrant, and he was African, and he was a king. So it was fantastic.
I'm looking for a queen. Where should we go? Queens.
Oh my gosh, love that movie. Yeah. So what? Okay, so Shuri and T'Challa, when they're talking in the lab, she references a movie. She says that movie that Daddy always watched. Papa always watched.
I don't remember. It could have been any movie. Maybe it was something specific. We're gonna have to see it again, of course.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'll have to actually go back and look for the extra stuff there.
In my head, I was kind of hoping that it would actually be Coming to America because it's like king and king. So it's like.
Do you remember what she said about the movie?
Something about the sneakers. It was like when they were talking about the sneakers.
Can't remember.
Yeah.
That's funny,
It'd
though.
be fun little tidbit. Yeah.
That's funny. It would be funny if they actually said Coming to America, because, yeah, that was actually a really funny film.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I thought that this was a fantastic movie. I absolutely loved it. So we're good on comment. Are there any questions? Any questions? Because Matt, I'm leaving. We'll go back. I'm gonna do some work. You know, like probably comic book work, because you know that's what I do. And you're never gonna see her again. That's it. That's it. We're done. So any questions? Send them in now. But
I wonder how people felt about the references the movie made to the struggles of people of African descent. Like, I thought that was also kind of, like, it didn't really go far, and I can understand because it's like, what, like a 2.5 hours movie? But, like, the very beginning, the girls in the hijabs, those, that's Boko Haram, that's Nigeria.
yeah, the girls in
Yeah.
it, you could assume that was a sex trade operation. Yeah.
It was nice meeting you, too. Me meeting you. Yeah. Yeah, so there's like that
They
reference.
addressed it, yes.
Yeah, so the struggles of people in Africa, and then the struggles of people like in the diaspora, or like, you know, in North America, specifically in America. That was also cool. And like, I want to see what Wakanda will do in the films in terms of like elevating people of African descent all throughout. Like, he just opened what did he call it?
There's 3 buildings at the very least that are going to be the
Outreach.
Wakandan outreach programs to you know find all of their people and things like that, but also to educate people and whatnot. I think it's interesting. It's like I wonder if he actually got permission to fly that plane in there, and those planes were beautiful. Like, you know, my favorite novel is Dune. You know what I'm saying? 1984 is like right behind it, but Dune is my favorite one. And the ornithopters, those copters, they say Frank Herbert described them as he never drew a picture of them. He just described them as they look like they were designed after an insect. And I'm like, all the different versions, the pictures, the images, and whatever that I've ever seen that are based on his description, these were the best ones. Like the one looked like a cricket with the body that went down and the neck, the head like rested there and everything.
Yeah.
They looked amazing. What do we got here? Means of production. There are many industrialized and rich countries in Africa. Example, Kenya. Yes, one of the most expensive countries in the world is Kenya. Certain cities in Kenya. In post-colonial Africa, I think Wakanda can be an allegory for the endless potential of African countries in our present day.
Yeah,
Yes.
I like that, like the endless potential. Yeah, makes me feel a little bit better about the film. But yeah, Africa is not as it's portrayed. Like, I know. Everything people see about Somalia is this really broken down, ravaged country, and I know that's not what it is. Like, certain parts can be like that, but like can be like that. That's the operative word, but it's not like that. Like, my dad just came back from it a week ago, and he's putting all his retirement money into it, and he wouldn't if
like
it was,
actually laying down, like what her father is electrical technician, and he was working in Fort McMurray for how many years now? Like decades. Decades, at least 2 decades at this point. Fort McMurray, look it up. It's in Alberta, Canada. It's the main hub of really good money coming in. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, but you have to be really, you know, really smart to be working over there. So he went over to Somalia, and he's just laying down fiber optics all over the place. And it is not the first time that fiber optics are being laid down. He's not doing anything revolutionary over there. He's just going to other cities, and it's like, oh, fiber optics haven't been laid down here? Let's lay them down. And I want you to think about how many places in America, how many places in Canada do not have fiber optics yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you guys watch me over on Nerderkey on Monday nights at 8:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you'll see that I run a game, a Marvel superheroes role-playing game for the guys there, a bunch of authors and things like that. And the guy behind the scenes, War Eagle Keep, totally cool dude. This cat, he's actually running off of 75 ohm cable. That's the old cable outlets that you plugged into your computers and all that back in the day. And it's like, it's old school. You know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, like the rest of, just all over the place, everybody's laying down fiber optics all over the place. So like, That's mostly because of what do you call it? The contracts that they have.
Yeah, like
You
it's
know,
new developments. They're open to the best. I know Kenya is fantastic for investment, for development. Like some of the people that my family knows, some of the people that I know, like I can't compete with these people. We can't compete with these people because it's like you tell them, I got like $10,000, $50,000 to invest, and they're like, yeah, I don't know what you could do with that. You need to come to me with like a million and a half to do things.
and
So
that's in like Somalia and
Kenya,
Kenya,
Uganda is another place. I don't know about
parts of.
Angola.
Uh,
Angola having the most expensive city in Africa. Yeah, I know
does
like
it?
a little bit more about
Oh,
East
okay.
Africa, and I know that Kenya is has a very strong economy. I know Uganda has a
See you
very
later,
strong
means.
economy. So yeah, Africa is not as it's portrayed. Um, I did not like them killing Killmonger.
Yeah, I didn't like them killing Killmonger or Claw. Like again, that's something that I referenced in the non-spoiler review. They are still killing people. It's like, come on, man. But at the same time, here's the thing: they're talking about killing. What do you call it? Killing Claw is one thing, because Claw actually comes back as a solid sound creature, so he can come back. It's not a big deal. Plus, I get the feeling after Infinity Wars, at least the fourth movie, everything's going to be rebooted, so everybody can come back alive. Like we're talking the reality gem with mixed with the power gem, the entire universe can be recreated. Plus, they could bring back the cosmic cube, which
I really like the
which
character.
is actually a stone here.
I really liked Killmonger's character.
But Killmonger, he was regenerated twice. He was brought back to life twice. In Wakanda, they have this thing called the Altar of Regeneration, or Altar of Resurrection, whatever. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but the altar of bringing people back to life.
Yeah.
And they brought him back twice,
Mm-hmm.
so it's okay to kill him. I guess he could always come back. Somebody who is sympathetic to him could be Wakabi in this particular instance. Just brings him back.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that one wasn't too big of a shock to me. It's like I kind of expected it.
Yeah, I did too, but I didn't want him to die either because like I enjoyed him in the movie. I want to see more of him. He was smart. He challenged T'Challa.
He had a goal, a reasonable, reachable goal. He was badass.
Yeah.
Like he just said straight out, you know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, I'm gonna take this from you. Like when he said it to like the museum
Oh
girl,
gosh,
that was like the best.
I was just like,
He was like,
how did your
oh,
ancestors get this?
exactly. It's like I'm like, don't worry about it because I'm going to take it off your hands. Excuse me, who are you? It's like these are not for sale. Sorry. Did you fetch a reasonable price when you stole this? From
Yeah.
he was straight, and then he went, but like not just that, he got into Chala's face, and he was just like, "There's a nice place you got there, nice throne. You guys look nice and comfortable. I'm going to take it." Like that's what he does, and then Everett K. Ross, like, yeah, that's what he does.
Yeah, and it was the push that T'Challa needed to get out of his isolationist mentality.
He did. That was the last, because like you could see he was going to go that way, and he is the one who went that way in the comic books. Here they had Lupita Nyong'o. That's the actress who played Malice. Malice. In the comic book, she became Malice. She was actually a bad guy in there. Bad girl. See, that sounds different. Saying a bad guy and a bad girl, that sounds very different. Anyway, she played Nakia in that one.
Okay.
She's the girl who played Nakia. She was obviously leading him towards the idea of, hey man, why don't we open up Wakanda? Like let's not be afraid. Let's actually help people. So they were clearly going that way anyway. But I guess that Njidaka, Killmonger, he was like that final, like, no, you will do it now.
Like to me, he represents the anger, the frustrations,
He's American.
all that we feel, right?
Yeah,
so
he's
it's
American.
Like I was sympathizing with him. It's like, but he's the bad guy. I don't want to sympathize with him. But it's like, no.
But it was a
like
believable cause. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's the thing about making bad guys one-dimensional. You know what I'm saying? but
Yeah.
he is not one-dimensional. People didn't like Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom was like he was kind of like a joke. They used to make fun of him in the Fantastic Four comics when he first came out. It's like, how do you get around New York City and you got all this armor on? Saying like, what are you doing? You're a knight with green capes on. Like, what are you doing? And then later on, like, oh, he's actually the leader of Latveria. Oh, he's actually ridiculously smart. Oh, he's actually on par with Reed Richards. Oh, he's the only person in the Marvel Universe who ever created a time machine. Even Reed Richards couldn't do that, so he's actually smarter than him. Oh, he's actually the son of a gypsy woman who, and like, so he's not only the master of science, he's a master of magic. So, like, his mother went to hell trying to protect him. He's gone to hell and gotten back. He's fought one-on-one against the devil himself, Mephisto, and come back. Like, when they made him multi-dimensional, that was like, Doctor Doom is the greatest villain who's ever existed. Yeah. With Magneto, when they said, oh, he was actually in a concentration camp, he's not just fighting you because whatever. No, he's fighting you because he sees the exact opposite vision of Professor X. So, like, he's a very multi-dimensional, very tragic character. How can you not get behind him? So, like, a big mistake that that Fox makes when they make these villains. Magneto is Magneto in the comics, but like Apocalypse, he was a one-dimensional bad guy who's just like, I will start destroying people. Why? I wasn't given that plot line, so because reasons. Like, nobody gave a rat's butt about freaking Apocalypse in there. So here, they're giving multiple dimensions to Njidaka, which is why he's got to come back. Like, it was amazing, And yeah, his final line. I would rather, whatever it was, like, basically
it was in the ocean. Like, my ancestors, they knew what death meant, or something like that.
They knew it was better to be dead than to be in chains, to be bound. But that actually sounds a lot to me like, did you ever read what the heck is his name? I know his name, Paradise Lost.
No, I actually never read it.
Milton, John Milton. He wrote Paradise Lost. The last line in that book is Satan, the Morning Star, after the fall, after he lost 1/3 of heaven's armies, the angels lost to the other 2/3, and he looks up with his shield, which is the size of the moon, and his spear, and he just looks up and he says, better to reign in hell than to serve in heaven. That's the line. That's what they did in this, and it was vainglorious. I loved it. I love that they gave him that line. What's happening over here?
Desmond is asking or saying, like, he was expecting him to go good, to turn good.
I kind of expected that, but yeah,
I was hoping for some way for them to have some sort of a reconciliation of some sorts.
Yeah,
but I don't know if I would have enjoyed that either, or if I would have liked that.
Not in this movie. It would have been too soon. In this movie, I think if he came back and he kind of did like because they did that with M'Baku. They did that with M'Baku. He was the bad. He's like, we're going to take over. We're going to take all this stuff. And all of a sudden, it's like, yeah, better you than that jerk down there. Like, he spared my life. Let me, put him in the snow. Like, it was cool. What do you call it? Over here, okay, I can do this. I speak Japanese fairly decently. Toshiro Maro. If I'm saying that wrong, I'm sorry. Yes, he's suggesting Namor behind Invisible Woman. Namor actually being the next one. They own Namor. They don't own the distribution rights to Namor. The Submariner, the guy in just the green loincloth, the green underwear. They don't own the distribution rights, so they can't make a solo his movie because they can't make any money off of selling the DVDs. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But they can have him because it's the exact same situation with the Hulk. They're not going to do any more solo Hulk movies because they can't make any money off the distribution. But they can put him in all the movies as long as they don't say it's a Hulk movie. It's an Avengers movie, or it's a Thor movie and Hulk's just in it. They can do that. They can do the exact same thing with Namor. You know what I'm saying? Because Universal owns it, whatever. But yeah, Namor actually came when he was because Namor is the king of Atlantis, and Atlantis and Wakanda have always been at odds with each other for a ridiculously long time, ever since Hudlin's Run. You know what I'm saying? The third volume of Black Panther. So for the longest time.
Sorry. So Namor, Atlantis, are they considered human?
No, they're Atlanteans.
Okay.
They're Homo myrminus.
Hmm.
So we're Homo sapiens. Mutants are Homo superiors. They are Homo myrminus. Yeah.
Cool.
The Inhumans are Homo. What are they, guys? Help me out. Homo Inhumanus. Homo Inhumanus. Yeah, they gotta do something that sounds Latin, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, they're Homo mermen.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that actually sounds bad when I say it like that. Anyway,
People.
so right, so just don't call them those people because they don't like that.
Okay.
It's a joke. Anyway, bad joke. Whatever. They're called sneakers.
I like that joke. I thought it was funny.
It was a pun. Puns aren't meant to be good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, anyway, he came along when he was part of the Phoenix Five and he actually flooded Wakanda at one point. He was the major enemy of the Wakandans. Like, they would have done anything to murder him dead. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they actually hated him more than Doctor Doom. Yeah, and Doctor Doom stole all their vibranium. All of it. So, anyway, I think that's it. Yeah, so we're going to let this one go. Anything else?
I just really like the hair. I want to put that out there. I love the hair.
You love that they all had the natural hair.
Yeah,
right?
I really love that.
That was good.
The women, actually, I think it was more than one woman. So one of the tribes, they had their hair kind of, it was a lock, but it was orange or like reddish.
With the mud.
Yeah, with
Like
the mud.
You said the Namibia.
Yeah, so I googled, and that's actually a
Guys,
tribe
it's
from...
Namibia, not Nambia. Okay, that's Trump's Africa. So Namibia.
Yeah. And the scenes where like they're in the, what is it, like where they had the combat, the challenge, so like the mountain.
That's actually Warrior Falls. It's called.
Okay.
That's in the comics.
Yeah, so I loved like the clothes that they're wearing and the dance they're doing and everything. It was just really beautiful. It was just a very visually pleasing movie.
The chip in the lip, the one guy who was snickering at the.
Oh,
that's
God,
where we were
yeah,
going,
yeah,
but like we got sidetracked. The one guy who's laughing at the one guy who had the big chip in his lip.
Yeah, someone behind me to my right, like when that guy came on in the scene, like, he would giggle, and then every time they were talking, and when they make the clicking noise, the clicking sound, he would like laugh. Like, it was just so irritating. I'm just like,
just want to kick him in the teeth.
Compose yourself. No, like tell him off, but it's like it's a theater, and I want to enjoy my movie, and yeah, but it was a wonderful movie.
The clicking, yeah, it doesn't bother me because that's whatevs. But the chip, yeah, that's even when I see that, it's like oh god, I can't. But I don't like any kind of I don't do body art. You know what I'm saying? I don't have any tattoos. I got a tattoo. I got a full body tattoo of myself, only bigger. I'm actually only 4'2", but the tattoo is huge, so I look like I'm 6'5". Cool, right? Anyway, so I do facial body hair. You know what I'm saying? I do body hair from my neck up. But seeing like tattoos or anybody with like the big earrings that they do nowadays, and even when I see women with like a nose ring is whatever, but like I see women with like the ring on the eyebrow and things like that. I'm always like, well, that's weird. You know what I'm saying? So, but I'm old and whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's weird. But like to snicker at, to laugh at, it was like.
For me, again, representation matters, right? So this is, I like that it was being represented, not in the typical National Geographic way. Like, it's clean,
Yes.
like there's no looking down, there's no, ooh, let's look at these savage people.
Yeah.
That was an attempt at a British accent. I can't do a British accent, but...
Just don't move your upper lip.
Okay, I can't do that. So, yeah, I enjoyed the film, honestly.
I didn't like that they killed Anika. I didn't like that they killed Anika. She was the one, Dora Milaje, who they killed. They killed Anika in this. That was messed up because Io. They killed Io. Io and Anika are like the two biggest ones. When what's her name? Roxanne Gay came along, and she had Io and Anika together. I think it's Io. They killed Io, and Anika is the one who. Yeah, Anika is the one, the much younger girl, but they actually wound up becoming lovers with each other, and they didn't die. They both became the Midnight Angels. They have this tech suit that now I believe in Ta-Nehisi Coates' run. all of the Dora Milaje are going to be getting the Midnight Angel armor, but only these two had it at first, and they were prototypes and awesome. But yeah, so
Tanahasi, did he also write the script for the film?
I do not know who did the writing for this actually. I didn't see. It would be a shame if they didn't, because a lot of that art is Brian Stelflee's art. The picture, the poster that you stole from me, she stole a poster from me. I had Brian Stelflee's sign one of his art to Professor Bill at Comic Book University. She snagged it. She took it to her job and everything. I don't have rights to it anymore. Like,
I'll give you a copy.
What does that mean? You take a picture and send it to me?
I got a scanner.
It's not my picture, man.
You want to see Storm in the Black Panther movie?
Yes, absolutely. I want to see Storm in the Black Panther movie.
Halle Berry Storm?
No, absolutely not. Halle Berry is not a great actress. The best she was ever in was this movie called Saving Isaiah, and she wasn't even that great in that. Did you see that?
I think I have. I don't not like. That sounds weird. I do like Halle Berry, just not in a superhero movie, not in the I'm a powerful, strong character.
She did nothing for me as Storm.
Yeah, no, I didn't like her as Storm. I like her in. She does really good when she's doing roles where she's vulnerable.
Yeah, Saving Isaiah, she was extremely vulnerable.
Yeah.
But even then, I didn't think that she was particularly fantastic in it. You know what I'm saying? Oh. And plus, so many people I know, like, oh my God, Halle Berry's so hot. Yeah, I guess.
Besides,
I don't think she's
in
ugly.
the comics, she's supposed to be Storm, dark, and she's supposed to have, you know what I mean? So it's like...
So, like, Halle Berry was the very safe choice, right? Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I 100% agree. Storm is just, she's extremely outgoing. That's the main reason why I don't like Halle Berry in it. Halle Berry's, like, trying to look pretty and stuff like that. Like, Storm is naturally gorgeous, whatever, but Storm is outgoing like crazy. She was reserved at first, but then when they went to Japan and met with Yuriko, I think Yuriko? Anyway, what do you call it? She wound up like just going all out, and she shaved it. She did the mohawk. She shaved the sides of her head. She did the mohawk. She lost her powers. She got her powers back. Lost them again. Got them back. Not important. And then she wound up growing hair again. Whatever. Anyway, she was just amazing, and like she would do whatever. She would do whatever.
I remember a few years ago reading a story of how they're going to make a movie on Angela Davis. She was one of the Black Panther activists back in the 60s.
Who is this?
Angela Davis. She's
nice.
And Halle Berry was supposed to...
And she played Ramonda in this. Queen Ramonda. Oh.
No, Angela Davis is an activist. She's not a...
Sorry, no. Angela Davis. I'm thinking... Okay, yeah. My bad. Yeah, Angela Davis. Okay, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, so Halle Berry was supposed to be her in this film, and I'm just like... Oh. Angela Davis is like the queen of...
You could do Oprah. Oprah could be her. She can yell.
No, but like they're supposed to do Angela Davis as a young woman, and Angela Davis is mixed.
Oh, as a young. Oh.
So it's like it makes sense to get
Then get somebody who's new. You don't have to get a familiar face. Like, somebody who's not going to hold back and be reserved.
Yeah, she's very reserved.
Yeah.
And Angela Davis is like she went toe to toe with Reagan.
Yeah.
So.
Anyway. That couldn't have been easy to do. Yeah. So, anyway, I think that's it for questions. So, guys, this was like a very fun hour. Hope you guys enjoy. See, this goes by so quick, doesn't it?
It does.
That's why I just get lost doing this. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, guys, I genuinely hope that you enjoyed this. I'm like looking over here, but I'm trying to look at you. Hi, how you doing? So, yeah, we're gonna wrap this up. Professor Bell.
Mrs. Professor Bell.
Mrs. Professor Bell. Comic Book University. You say it.
Comic Book University? Is that what do you say? Oh, class dismissed. I'm learning.